We're not going to waste any time here. No other than the one and only. I have to call her Marcia Braveboy. How are you doing, Marcia?
I am good. I am good, and so having some internet challenges, as I told you. I live between mountains and valleys, so I've been
Mhm.
having some challenges to log on. But thanks for having me, and good to see you doing your thing in your part of the world and making your contribution. Radio broadcasting is my thing, and if you're running a radio station, just know that it's about community and people first.
Correct. And we have with us Diana. So this in the village with the DAG triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM, right? So DAG is DAG, DAG is the D is Diana, the A is Ansem, and the G is Gary. And we have a fourth person with us. We call him the outside channel. The ladies in the chat call him the love child. So we work. And Marcia, I want to say this, we have not talked personally, but we have interacted with each other, so to speak, right? And I
Yes.
want to, and I want to thank you because I called you in the last minute. I said, "But let me call Master Brave Boy."
Yeah, and I have no idea what your show is all about. I said,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
you just talk about village and
yeah, yeah,
village life and people, which
well,
is what media and what is all about. People.
right. So in the village, we talk about all different type of things. We talk about things happening in Trinidad. We talk about what's
Yeah,
going on in politics. And I
yeah.
noticed you tell me. I noticed you tell me. Let me read what you said for me because I think that's important. You told me that Marcia indicated that she's a journalist, a blogger, and an advocate.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Right?
which is what I tend to say. I do blog, but I'm an
Yeah.
advocacy journalist. I moved on from that when I had my tete-a-tete with the
Mm,
mainstream media, with the Express and the TV6. If you could remember, the genesis of that battle
mm,
that started, and I broke away from the newsroom and I went into blogging and I started exposing what was going
mm,
on in newsrooms and how they were manipulating news content
mm,
to
mhm,
please the political directorate.
mhm,
And because of political difference, because I had supported, I'm a Grenadian, came from Grenada, came to Trinidad, and
mm,
decided to support 𝗲𝗂𝗲𝐵𝘆.
mm,
What they didn't know is that if it was Penelope Beckles going up as first woman prime minister, that's where my support would have gone. But they just saw
mhm,
it as, oh, you're supporting the UNC, and then it just turned into something very chaotic and
mm,
cumbersome that a whole lot of
mm,
people didn't understand, didn't know
mm,
the genesis of it and how it is I got there and all of that. But yeah, it was a woman thing at the
mm,
time, and it just turned into something very rotten
mhm,
because that's what politics gives,
mhm, mm.
So it's here I am. I
So,
just ended up and I
mm,
just stayed. I stayed put. So if once you take a position because of what happened. It was not a choice I made, it was circumstances. And because of where the battle placed me, I ended up taking a position. And then that becomes advocacy because you
mhm,
can't take away my body of work. You can't take away the fact that I'm a journalist. You can't say that I'm not a journalist anymore. We don't give journalism license in the Caribbean, so you can't take away a person's license and say they're not a journalist anymore. So that
mhm,
is absolute nonsense. So I just disabuse anyone of
mhm,
that thought who tries to say that. I have a healthy body of work across mainstream media in the Caribbean region and in the
mhm,
international media. Whether they would have paid hackers to wipe my work offline, that does not matter. My body of
mhm,
work is in me. At any point in time, I can start writing again for the international media, for the Caribbean news, and I can
mhm,
build something even bigger and even
mhm,
better. That does not deter me in any way. So
mhm.
that's where it is.
So where do you stand, Marcel, right now with respect to the political spectrum in Trinidad and Tobago? Where do you stand currently?
Okay, that's a very broad question. I stand always with the people. I
Mm,
stand always against injustice. I stand always for justice and for what is right. Um, I hope I'm answering your question properly.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if you, I don't know
you're very.
what you really, I don't know what you're really getting at,
No,
you know.
no,
But
no. Listen, but I tell listener, listen. You see, in the village, when we come in the village, we keep it real. Eh? We have all different parties coming into the village. You understand? It's not anti-PNM. People may say it's
yeah,
anti-PNM, eh? Right? And people may say it's pro-UNC. So this is how it goes, right? Right?
yes,
The pro PNM, right, will say it's anti-PNM because I am
yeah,
PNM. You understand?
yes,
And the pro
mm-hmm.
UNC, right? Other people may say it's anti-UNC. So we
Yeah,
have a mix of people that comes into the village. That's why we call it in the village. We have a mix of people.
yes,
We have Diana. Diana is not affiliated with any party in Trinidad and Tobago,
Hallelujah.
right? She's 1/8 Bajan. She's one.
Hello, hello. I get it right,
she
get it right. My mother
she's
and
Bajan.
father is Bajan. I was born in Trinidad and Tobago. Get
Mm,
it
All
right.
right, well,
mm,
I
mm,
am a Grenadian from the land of oil dung, from
Good.
the land of pure Grenada, the land of spice. A very, very proud Grenadian. But we've had a situation where the family, half of my family came to Trinidad. I spent some childhood time in Trinidad. You know, as a
mm,
young person, I
Well,
stayed here for a while.
my mother and father is Bajan. I was born in Trinidad. I is a
Yeah,
Bajan. Good.
I'm a Grenadian. Oh, you are a Bajan. Okay, nice.
Ah,
So
but I was born in Trinidad.
yeah, so let's go to the question. One person in chat says, Marcia, one person in chat asks, what is the difference between a journalist and a social media blogger?
Um, okay, I could answer that. A social media blogger
Mm,
is not necessarily a journalist, but a journalist can be a social media blogger. A
mhm,
blogger is not necessarily a journalist, but a journalist can be a blogger. A
mhm,
talk show host is not necessarily a journalist, but a journalist can be a talk show host, right? But not because, in my case, for instance, because there's political difference, there was some kind of fight. I worked at I-95. People know my work at I-95. They know my
mhm,
work at CN3 television, at Power 102. I wrote for the Newsday, LA Post Examiner, Baltimore Post Examiner. And I have worked various genres of media and genres of journalism. Not because I take to Facebook and I'm blogging means that I'm not a journalist anymore.
mhm,
So that is not crap that people should be repeating when the media wants to be bitchy and nasty because they know I came from them and they're going to say Marcia Braveboy, UNC activist. Anita Haynes is a public relations officer, or
mhm,
was the public relations officer of the UNC, and she cannot remotely be described as a UNC activist. You
mhm,
know, so you still have to be responsible when you're operating from that sphere of mainstream media, and you have to be accurate. I saw Lasana Liebert refer to me as political blogger. That is accurate, you know, because I am, right? But I'm a political blogger who is a journalist. You know, that is just one thing you can't take away from me for the mere fact that I have the body of experience. It is my foundation, it is my training. You cannot take away a person's foundation just because you want to be petty or bitchy or nasty, or you're going to give it to her. You want to give it to somebody, you know, and you will say she's not a journalist anymore. It's just that is just utter petty nonsense, you know. So I came from them and I have my body of work, and they know what it is that I can do. So you know, that's just
Marcia,
where that is. So that
mhm.
I hope that
Marcia,
answers the question.
Marcia, Tommy here.
I hope that answers it. Who?
Yeah. That answered the question. That's good. Go ahead, Tommy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to. Can you be objective as a journalist in Trinidad and Tobago and make a living?
Hmm.
Who? Okay, so who? Tony? Who?
Tommy, that's the outside child. The one they call the love child and thing. Yeah. He's all four
Okay.
hoes.
Can you be? I don't think as many famous experienced journalists have admitted, like when they would have retired and wrote books, and
Mm,
as many media experts have written.
mm,
I am one who is siding with writers who say there's no such thing as objectivity in journalism.
mm,
You know, there is always, you don't see the lack of objectivity sometimes. You don't see the position, you don't see the deception and in the writing and the positions that reporters are taking from the mainstream newsroom. It's I
Can
know it is.
can
Hello?
you
Go ahead.
exercise independent? Can you exercise independent thinking or independent perspectives on situations and still survive?
Um, it depends. If that involves speaking the truth, you can be
Naturally, it
marginalized.
will.
It depends on, but no, it depends on who is affected by the truth that you speak. Sometimes it depends on who it affects. The way this work has impacted on me, I have had to run into safe houses and so on because of the kind of work I did, the stories that I broke that the mainstream media will not break, and all that sort of thing. And the usual is not. It's not exceptional to Trinidad. That happens with journalists everywhere who
So,
go down into the trenches and report news that the mainstream does not report. You have to find yourself almost living in isolation, um, not being found and being out of harm's way, more or less. But you can. Sorry, what was the question? If you don't mind, just repeat it.
What I'm doing is I'm trying to establish whether or not an independent or objective journalist can survive in Trinidad and Tobago's
The first thing, I don't
environment.
think there's any such thing. I don't think there's any such thing as an objective journalist. I don't think that exists.
you
To
don't
be
think
quite
you don't
honest.
think journalists are being objective?
No, I don't think so.
So what are they writing
I
from a perspective that they are told to write, or what is the position of the papers?
mostly from a perspective that they are told to write, that they are dictated to by the business class and the political class. Yes,
Really?
and that directive usually comes from their bosses,
That
their
that
editors,
basically, I guess that says that the population will be screwed forever.
well, it has been for a long time. Like I said, it's not Trinidad and Tobago. That is happening everywhere,
All
and
over
with
the
the
place.
If
with the with,
uh,
with the jungle that social media is, that the
Mm,
internet is,
mm.
online media, online newspapers don't really make money with advertising, right?
Correct.
So somebody is paying for that, and you have to take the position of the person who is financing you. They do take the position, and they protect whoever is financing them.
Mhm.
So it's not it is just, it's not as simple as it seems, especially with the advent of the social media, the internet, and online journalism and online blogging and running an online newspaper, which is not really income generating. So a lot of cases of these, you really have journalists who go into entrepreneurial journalism. You see, we just grew up knowing the hard news journalism. We don't know about activist journalism, advocacy journalism, entrepreneurial journalism, and the wide sphere and the different types of journalism that there is, that you can practice, that you can shift away from the hard news. If you're running an online newspaper and you want it to be successful and you want it to make money, well, entrepreneurial, you shift into entrepreneurial journalism, and you do what you have to do for the paper to survive, for it to be successful. You try as much as possible to do journalism, real journalism,
Mm.
and to be as objective as possible, because at the end of the day, even a financier must understand that if it is too mushy and if it is too casually leaning and supporting of a business class or political class, that nobody's going to read that stuff.
Mm.
So even they understand that, and will
Mm.
have to give leeway for
Mm.
some measure for the journalism to play out in the writing and in the work.
Mm. So Marcia, someone says I guess we have this situation in Trinidad with respect to TTT. They said, "What's your thoughts on only letting TTT carry the news of Trinidad and Tobago?"
No, that is they can't do that. They should not do that. And I mean, the minister really put egg all over his face there
He put his
when
foot
he
in
said
his
that. I
mouth
was actually,
twice.
I was,
He put
I
it in
was
his
actually
mouth twice.
surprised.
The man said
Pardon?
that. I said he put his foot in the mouth twice.
Yes, I was
Twice.
surprised that he actually said that, and I was like, "What? You can't. I mean, even if you try to do something like that, you don't really do that." I remember when the PNM just came into office. I remember Maxi Coffee was a journalist.
Yes.
So what he was doing, he used to write stories and send it to the papers. And I am not using conjecture and accusing him of anything. I would give you an example of things that puzzle you. You open the Guardian and you read a story, and then you open the Express or the News, then you see the exact same story word for word.
Correct.
That never daunted you.
Yeah.
that is when and that's when they make an error. They just be so busy that things like that slip out. That is when a story is sent to them written. That's what happens there. And so when I left the belly of the beast, the newsroom, and I came out, I exposed things like that. And my colleagues got very angry at me and say, "Oh, we could deal with Marcia. She's not a journalist anymore. And when we write story, we go call her a UNC activist and belittle her and put her down." But it was things like that I exposed, because people would write on Facebook and say, "How the hell the two newspapers could have the exact same story word for word?" And then to make it worse, they put a byline on it. They put the name of a reporter on it. So two different reporters write the exact same story, the exact same way. So these were things that I used to be, that's what I used to be exposing, and they used to be angry with me. And then they end up with eggs on their faces when the newsroom is too busy to check and to pay attention to what they're doing, and they make errors like these. And then I'm like, I just rock back and I'm like, people see it now. Yeah.
So Marcia, we want you to stick and stay with us. This discussion is really interesting because people are learning information from you, and you're so calm and easy going, and the kind of stories you break is really earth-shattering stories. when you break a story, it's like a earth. Boy, look, Marcia Braveboy break a next story.
And then all the PNM bloggers rush in fake news. Braveboy again.
Yeah. Like Marcia Braveboy, man. All Marcia Braveboy does these fake news.
She should go into fiction writing.
So stick and stay with us, folks. It's In the Village with the Dark Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. Of course, we have with us in the village tonight no other than Marcia Braveboy. And I'm just going to call Marcia Braveboy a journalist and a blogger for now. Let me just do this real quick here. That wasn't supposed to come up. Come on.
So what this made me think about was, it made me...
All right. So we're going to go for a quick break on the station identification. We'll be right back with Marcia Braveboy. Stick and stay.
You're listening to...
All right.
You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio. WZYE 95.9 FM.
And of course, we are back with you in the village to the Dark Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. We have with us in the house no other than journalist and blogger, social media blogger, Marcia Braveboy. And she's given us some wonderful information here. Marcia, someone else asked the question, why does Gary hate you so much? I think they may be talking about Gary Griffith.
Gary?
Is that, it says Gary. Why do Gary hate you so much? Is that Gary Griffith?
I never thought that he hated me. I don't think so. Does he? I was not aware. You can't pay attention to haters. To people who hate you. You really just have to move on and do what you're doing. So I was not aware that. No, him and I actually speak well. I didn't get the impression. I know I said something about his son on Facebook recently, and he was very upset, as he's known for coming across thin-skinned. Yeah, he gets upset very easily over stuff.
Yeah, he likes the toad feelings. He does toad feelings.
Yes.
He likes the toad feelings. He likes to call people all kind of name. But once he get he can't take it. He can't deal when you have to go into the guile. He can't go into the guile at all.
I mean,
You know?
just me. If I just say, Gary, yeah, for this job, you need to have a cool head. You can't be hot-headed and be
Mhm.
jumping on every page and responding to things people say about you. That alone will get Gary upset. But that is the truth. You are the commissioner of police. So if you jump in as commissioner of police, then that can be interpreted as you trying to influence things for your son and all of that. So I don't. So I'm just one. I think people knows that I am someone who is. I could be highly opinionated when I'm ready, and that usually upsets people when you express your opinions about stuff. When you have strong convictions and you express them, that usually upsets people, especially people in positions like Gary. you know.
Well, Marcia, let me tell you, we here at WZYE 95.9 FM, and we were saying this months ago. We have requested to be part of the news conference for the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of National Security, the Minister of Finance, and the Prime Minister office, as well as the Attorney General office. We were invited to one press conference, which was the Ministry of Finance. And after that, they removed us from even sending us any message to any press conference. And I felt that was
on what grounds?
I felt that was censoring the media, right?
Yeah.
But the grounds is this, right? I am a known PNM activist here in the diaspora. And I had taken on the party with respect to exile and stranded citizens because I felt the policy by the government was wicked and evil. And I took a stand for country. Well, Marcia, all of a sudden, overnight I became a UNC. I
saw that. I was surprised. But you see, the human nature and the human being and humanism comes first. And especially if you're running a media house, it is supposed to make you a better person. Just as if you get up in the morning and you win an election and you become a politician, it really should make you a better person. Somehow, in their case, it doesn't, right? But what you do there, the people come first. That's how people will take your media house seriously. If you want to leave, when you leave and you go blogging, that's different. But when you come and you're running your radio station, it is a media house, and you have to put community and people first. So that was a very good position that you took. If I ran a media house and the government I support was doing that, I would take the same position.
And because my name in Trinidad, they call me Wall Street, right? And boy, I used to be on all the radio stations in Trinidad and Tobago defending the government, right? However, when this issue came up, I started to see, boy, how could I continue to defend something? And I seeing people starving. I see people selling bottles. I can't do that. You understand? And then it became even worse, where I asked the PNM to deal with my constituency of 𝗬𝗃𝗲𝐿𝐵. There's been 3 buildings that haven't been painted in a decade and a half, and an abandoned building that's been sitting there for 11 years, 6 years under the PNM. When I asked them to take care of that, right, they look at me with like if I'm some kind of zombie, right? And then I talked about the 𝗲𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗏 to Wall Street Empowerment Center because I'm from 𝗬𝗃𝗲𝗏. They look at me like if I'm a zombie. So I'm saying to myself, what sense does it make, right, that I am dedicating myself to you when you're in opposition and when there's an election? And when I ask you for something for the people, this is not for me. I didn't ask them for something for me. I asked them for the most disadvantaged people in the community. They look at me cocky eye, right? So I don't understand it. So we have to come here and we have to speak truth to power, right? So there's come all kind of name. Oh, that has shown me on radio this past week. That about an hour they spent on Wall Street on different radio stations. Call them all kind of name. But I tell them, I go in 𝗬𝗃𝗲𝗏 and my back broad, right? When you grow up in 𝗲𝗏, you have to have a back broad. So Marcia, what it is make you go underground? What it is that made you go underground, so to speak?
Well, that was triggered, as I said in the introduction, with the battle between myself and the mainstream media. Not all of the mainstream media, it was just the Express. and TV6 joined in their sister station. I exposed one journalist, that was Suniti Maharaj. I had exposed that Suniti Maharaj was doing consultancy for the Trinidad Guardian media conglomerate and CCN media, comprising of Express and TV6 conglomerate. And that is a conflict of interest. And that is corruption in media. And that is where that war began. And then there was this series of articles about Braveboy supports UNC. And she getting $6,000 to blog for the UNC. And at the time they did that, I was not even employed. I did not even have a job answer. I was not working, you know. And when the UNC was shocked when they saw that, because they came week after week with editorial for a whole month. They ran editorials on me, and nobody saw and knew what they were doing. They did not understand that they were trying to make me unemployable.
Wow.
And it was do or die. And they went on Facebook and they waited in on me and they said all kinds of vile, nasty things about me and where I come from in Grenada, and they're going to see it at a ton of background out here. They said it. They said it. A lot of people didn't see what was happening. Very few people observed, but a lot of people didn't know what was going on and why they did what they did. But when they did that, they knew full well that nobody would want to touch me in a hurry. I would get difficulty finding a job. And the UNC did move in and sort of embrace me at the time. I got a job at Talk City at the state media at the time because they were impressed that this one person was standing up with the media and all of that. And that is how all of that happened. So it was not a situation where Marcia Braveboy made a choice, because you don't do hard news for all this time and then just jump into the political fray, right? I was pushed, right? And a lot of people did not realize that. And I just sort of just stayed that course. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed exposing their journalism malpractices, their yellow journalism and everything. I totally and entirely enjoyed it. And now I kind of take a break from that. But when I did it, I went hard, and I was nasty and I was brutal because they were brutal towards me. And and I was just hitting. So I was. But they never was expected that from me. They thought, because they took out a lot of people and drove a lot of people out of their careers. You ever notice, you paying attention to the media and you see a good writer or you hear a good announcer and they just disappear from the scene.
Yeah,
they just manage them away. Once they're good at what they do, the media manager decide, well, that person coming up and I don't want to be replaced soon. They don't keep you for long. They fight you long and they manage you away and they get rid of you.
That's so true.
When I faced my fight, I stood up and I fought back, and they never expected that. And a lot of people got vexed with me, like my work, who loved what I did. They were disappointed. And what happened to this girl? Is she mad? Or she come from Grenada and she did the UNC and all this thing. But that was not a choice that I made. It was circumstances. I was just shoved into a situation, and they thought if they align me to the UNC, I'll feel ashamed about that. I'm going to want to run away from that. No, why? There are people too. I don't understand. So that was not the position that I took. I never saw it the way they saw it. And I stayed where I was embraced at the point in time.
And they say I'm mad too, right, Ansel?
Yeah. They also said that I'm mad. So Marcia, they call Diana Benskin mad as well. A lot of PNM people call her mad. So Diana, Marcia, what we can say that in your time of need, right, the UNC came, with our parachute, so to speak, right, and gave you an opportunity to do something that you enjoy doing.
Yes.
And you were paid for it, right?
Yeah, because I got a good job on Talk City. I was paid $10,000 a month. They said it because they wrote it in the papers, so I could say it. And more or less, I got this job on they hired me on Talk City, and that was I enjoyed that. I love broadcasting, and I got a platform. They have their platform, the Express and whatever. They have an I-95 and urban radio station, and all of them were coming at me, and I had gotten a platform to go back after them because I was just on the Facebook, and that was wonderful. You know, the PNM would have done it too if it was somebody in a similar position and what the person was doing favored them. They would have done the same thing and say, hey, call this
No,
girl
no,
and hire her.
but Marcia, I want to tell you that the PNM is a little different in this situation. Let me tell you why. Yeah? Because from 2010 to 2015, there was some gentleman in, we go back and forth with each other. It's the ground report, but I call them the underground report. Right? Them fellas are my partners with the Pompeka radio. Them fellas to them, me and them, I know them fellas to them. So we just go back and forth. I just call them the underground report. Right? So from 2010 to 2015, they moved from 104.7 FM to 91.1 because prior that the UNC came into power, they supported the UNC and they were batting for the UNC hard. So when the UNC came into the power, the UNC supported them in return and put them on 91.1. I never had a problem with that. However, when the PNM come into power in 2015 now, we have people like Julia Davy, Sherma Wilson, and Pastor Google was batting for the PNM hard. You know them again, no work on 91.1? Nothing for them?
They had no. You can't compare. You seriously cannot compare the 60-something-year-old PNM to the UNC in that. The PNM has the system in their corner, and that includes the system of media, right? Who controls the media? They favor the PNM more. That is a fact. That is why I ended up in the problems I ended up in when I supported 𝗵𝗶𝘀𝗲𝐿 as the journalist in the newsroom. But you have people like Curtis Williams, who was on the Media Association executive, who went and got a job. You listen to me? He got a job as a communications specialist in the Tobago House of Assembly while he was on the Media Association of Trinidad and Tobago executive. And that is not supposed to happen. That is for purely journalists. If you leave the newsroom and you're going to communications, you cannot be on the matter executive. And Curtis Williams was on the matter executive. And that is okay. And he's just one example of numerous examples of this. You have Samuel McKnight, God bless his soul, he's dead now. He was seen on a truck campaigning with Esther Leger, and he came, that was the Sunday, and Monday morning he was in the CNC3 newsroom reporting as a journalist, and that was okay. But you dare not do that supporting the UNC. You can't support the UNC from the newsroom and survive your career and your job there. They're going to kick you out. So there's no comparison. The PNM did not need to employ anybody in the state media. They have Iowa Station that supports PNM. They have Express that supports PNM. They have Guardian that supports PNM. They have Newsday that supports PNM. Urban radio stations.
Yeah, but Marcia, there's a big difference though, because at 91.1, you will make about $10,000 a month. At 91.9, you might make a quarter of that. So
plus, no.
Yeah.
If you are no. That is in terms of the salary on a radio station, but we don't know what they're getting on the side from whom. I don't think that.
I hear you. I don't know.
And I know this for a fact. This is not conjecture. This is not me accusing anyone of anything. If they are blogging for a political party, whether it is a 1% financing them, whether it is somebody saying, I support the party and you do this, and I put you on my payroll, they're going to be getting something else on the side to supplement their salary.
Well, I have been told, right? I can only talk about what I've been told, in that these people, but anyway, but Marcia, why they're not on 91.1 anyway? Let's say they're getting something and deciding it and have to be 5,000, right?
Yeah.
Why, after you toil in the vineyard for the PNM, you don't think that? But they're media personnel also. This is the job that they do. Why don't they deserve something at 91.1 and the PNM is in power? I'm just asking.
It is not. It is because they have taken positions when they were in opposition that we are not like that. And
Okay.
UNC have bloggers. Hold on UNC have bloggers on the state media, and you're going to see we are going to be different, and we are not going to do that. The PNM does not need to do that. The rest of the body of media supports PNM. They don't need 91.1. 91.1 does not have the following. When so-called UNC pro-UNC broadcasters are on that side of the country is listening to that station. They're not listening to I-95, and it's a very powerful following. It is a big audience. They listen to the station that supports the government that they support. Right? It is not applicable to the PNM in this case. They have urban stations who support them. 91.1 is 9.9 is PNM. They don't need 91.1. They don't need it. It's state media. A lot of people don't listen to it. If Rhoda Barrett and others go on there, but do they want to go there? They already set the stage to show that they're going to be different and they're not going to be interfering with the state media. And they have this impression now to hold up because they said so. That's what they're gonna do. Right? Okay. But it does not affect them because the rest, 99% of the rest of the media is PNM. So that does not affect them. They could afford to take a position like that because they are so entrenched in the system for so long.
So they could afford to starve their own then. That's how I will put it. They could afford to starve their own. But
no, you are wrong. You are wrong. They are not starving. Aisha Wells and their broadcast is pro PNM, and I am telling you, they're going to be benefiting otherwise than that salary that they are getting. I'm sure about it.
All right. Okay. All right. So Marcia, someone else says in the chat, given that you're an advocate of women empowerment and leadership, if Penny takes over the leadership of the PNM, will you support her and why?
Well, it's not simplistic. It's not simplistic like that. In the situation of 𝗓𝗂𝗄𝐿, when at the timing is everything. It so happened that she was going to be the first woman prime minister of Trinidad and Tobago, and I supported her. And if it was Penelope Beckles that was going to be first woman prime minister at that point in time, my support would have gone there, and then people would have said, "Oh, she's PNM," But that is really what happened. That is really how that happened. And then because I did that and I was considered a strong reporter, other powerful people above me got mad and started to fight me down, and the whole thing just got very nasty. And turned into just something. The waters just became highly discolored that nobody recognized it and understood what was going on. And they're like, "What, Marcia, mother, what's her? She's supporting them and them. What going on with she?" And this kind of thing, But nobody understood. I was very happy to go down in the mud and just fling mud at them. I was very, very, very happy to do that. I have no discomfort about that at all. I don't need to do it anymore. But when I did it, I was very happy that I did it. I enjoyed it and thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, you used to come and take me on, but you and I had a very civil discourse.
Yeah, but I said we always had, if it's one thing, I gotta say to you, that's why I had no qualms calling you. We had a very civil, discourse between you and I. You see, and that's and you see, and that's what people don't understand sometimes. And not because you the opposition, I had to come and get nasty with you. That is my philosophy, though.
Yeah, some people took a position that, okay, I know Marcia in the newsroom, but she and she colleagues just fall out and he just whatever. And they maintained a very civil relationship with me. It didn't bother them. They just laughed at it. There's this one little Marcia encircled by this jungle. She take it on everybody. So it was really something else. But yeah, you are one example of one of the few people that just maintained a very level head in the situation and just moved with me normal.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and today I still maintain a level head and getting licks from the PNM left, right, and center, boy. And I coined that first for them,
Why you letting that bother you?
Huh?
Why you letting that bother you?
No, it don't bother me. It don't bother me. I just go back at them. I call them the go along, get along PNM gang. It's a bunch of them, and all one side of them is go along, get along PNM gang because it's like, Them don't care. If the PNM say we go exile and stranded citizens, them believe in that. If the PNM tell them the donkey pink, them believe in that. If the PNM tell them the donkey green, them believe in that. It doesn't
and you
matter.
know that has a history. That has a history in Eric Williams saying, if I put a crapo in lavender, was it? They'll vote for it.
Yeah. Correct is right. So here I am now.
That has its roots stretched back, into something very significant in those very significant words of Eric Williams. So
yeah, and here I am now, coming up kind of young in the political thing and doing a lot of activities with them when they were in opposition. And when they come into power, it's like Wall Street is non-existent. Wall Street can't get a little, and people say, look at him, all the work he do, he can't even get a building painted in 𝗪𝗂𝗏𝗏 from the PNM. All that hard work he do, a building painted, I not just for a super contract, I not just for a super,
I hope the PNM matures and is able to just continue to work with you. You now run a media house, you function now in a different capacity. And I hope that they will understand that and can just continue to work with you. And if you get a journalist to represent you to go to the news conferences, that's actually even better, So there's a lot of young journalists looking for a break.
Like
so
if you
get a trainee also who can make it clear.
Diana.
Yeah.
Diana went to
they ban you. I'm saying if you have a journalist.
What happened?
Say that again, Marcia.
Yeah, I said you are saying that they ban you, but I'm just telling you another way that you can approach it. If you send an actual journalist to sit in with their media, get someone a media pass, and they go in and say, I represent this media house, it might be difficult. It's going to look like something else for them to just put that person out. So I'm just saying you can find a trainee who's looking for a little break and give them a media pass, and they go into the news conference, and then that I believe is good.
And then you don't want to send me on.
You and them is something different. But if you send I don't think it's going to be that petty, honestly. I don't think so. It's not
all right. So I'll take your advice. We'll find someone.
You just get a trainee journalist, go in representing you. I don't think they're going to be kicked out, to be honest.
All right. So
you and them, it's just you and their issues because you're supporting them, and then you bash them, and apparently they're hurt and all of that. But you run a radio station. And if you get like a trainee journalist and send them in to gather news and bring it to you, I don't think they're going to be kicked out.
All right. So I'll take that advice. I definitely take that advice. That's a good advice. I mean,
I've been around. I'm not a spring chicken in this thing. So I'm just telling you how to get around it. I doubt very much. I'm not a fan of the PNM, but I doubt very much if you send in a journalist representing your media house, they're not going to kick out that person. I doubt that much. So
you're asking me something, answer?
No. I thought no. I wanted you just to tell her about our experience with the one time they allowed us to go to the Ministry of Finance press conference, and since then we have been uninvited to any press conference so far.
Yeah, he was very brusque with me, very curt. I didn't get to ask the questions I really wanted to ask, and it's like, okay, he was taken aback by my questions, wanting to know who I was.
I remember that, but you were but are you in Trinidad?
No, I was over here. I'm over here.
I saw you. I saw you on the virtual. But I'm saying, if you have a journalist on the ground here, and they go into the conference, the news conference, they're not going to be snubbed. I doubt that very much. So I'm just telling you that is one way to deal with it.
Okay, I appreciate that. You see, sometimes is that it's important for you to invite every and anybody, because everybody can learn from each other.
That's right.
It's like a child. is like a babe in the woods of journalism. Somebody, a trainee just coming and learning the thing. These big hard men at these news conferences call themselves ministers and politicians. They're not going to do that. You know, it's not going to look good. You know, so I'm just telling you that's just one way to deal with it. They don't want to deal with you and all of that. But if you send a young person representing you, then that's something entirely different.
So what's next for Marcia Braveboy?
Well, I am I'm exhaling, and I am looking to get back into hard news journalism very soon, to start writing again for the international media. Apparently, I was on Facebook saying, when they're saying I'm not a journalist anymore, I was saying, hey, I have a body of work, right? You can't. So let me just disabuse you all of this nonsense one time. So then I just saw all my stories disappear from offline, and it also disappeared from the my computer where I had it stored and all of that. So you have a petty government.
How did that happen? How did that happen?
Because the government, and I'm not accusing them, they paid hackers to go into my system. That's why the Israelis are here. They are in our computer systems. They have come in, they have taken a seat in our living rooms and into our computer systems, deleting content that the PNM does not like. You look for stories on the Express and they're gone. You look for stories on the Guardian and they're gone because Pegasus is in town with the Israelis and that intelligence, and your content is just being made to disappear online, content that they do not like. In my case, they just wiped out every single thing, you know, so that was really kind of personal and strange, because you want to just take down the stories that affected you. But why wipe out my body of work about Haiti, about 𝗪𝗻𝗀𝗃𝗃, about Margaret Thatcher? Why would you take all of that down? It costs a lot of money to do that. So you have a government just on nonsense, right? And have the people hungry, throw people on the breadline to give them handouts, and turn this country into hamper nation, while they sit down in important meetings talking about Marcia Braveboy and making her stories disappear online. And what does that do to me exactly? Was it supposed to make me sit in a corner and weep? No, I just write again. I just continue writing again.
I hope you have taken the position of backing up your data every so often.
I just told you they went in on the computer and removed it from there too. I have some things saved, you know, there's some things that I've been able to salvage, but I'm telling you how far and the extent that they went to make my work disappear. You know, because apparently that's supposed to, if I say I have a body of work, you can't say I'm not a journalist anymore. They pay hackers to take down my stories, or they pay the companies that I wrote for abroad. Or I don't know what they did and really how they did all of it, how they got 15 years of work wiped out, 19 years of work rather wiped out. That is a lot. Caribbean News now, Los Angeles Post, and then aggregate sites that carried it. And that is why I think it was a massive operation. Now, you could have paid Caribbean News now some money to take it down, because these online news sites don't make money. You could have paid the other international media outlets as well, but the aggregate sites, how do you explain? Because they didn't just carry the link, they copy and paste a story, right? So how do you explain the stories disappearing from aggregate sites? So you just run a website and you see a story Marcia Braveboy wrote on Caribbean News now, and you copy it. You say, you like this, you copy it, you just you give a Caribbean News now the credit, but it's on your website, and it disappears from your website too. So that's professional hackers they got to go in and remove everything. Look at what this government, or whoever it is, it could be the UNC too, because you know both of them working together on certain things, right? Look at what they spend their time doing. Look at this nonsense. What is that supposed to do to me? Help me to understand, answer. What is that supposed to do to me? Why are they spending time doing nonsense like that and making people hungry and not focusing on how to get the country open back up and get the economy again? They sit down in meetings they regard as important, with Pegasus, with hackers, and making people's stories disappear. And some story in the Express that they ain't like, they get hackers to sit in and kill the story link, or they probably get the Express to take it down, or whatever. It's just this, why they're spending time doing trivial foolishness like that. Why? You know, that is so annoying if you're a real journalist, to exist and trying to get me off Facebook. You know, every single day I get a Google alert in my Gmail. Every single day they're scanning my Facebook and looking for stuff. And then I saw a Hebrew Sanskrit next in the information that came in on the Google alert. And I was like, the red flag, that's the Israelis. That's PNM. You know, why they're spending time doing nonsense like this. They are not running the country, Ansem, and you can see this is what they're spending time on. If you wrote 15,000 stories over time and you have a set of things that I didn't like, and you came there and you said things about them that they didn't like, they bring in a plane of Israelis with hackers to sit down and just wipe out your body of work online. What kind of petty, small-minded government is this? What manner of government is this that spends time doing nonsense like this? You have to sit down and discuss that, right? So these are not people who are big on running a country and are about people and about getting this economy going again. This is a government that is on petty nonsense, having meetings about Marcia Braveboy, and we have to get her stories down from Caribbean News Now because all this thing making her big and all this kind of thing. What nonsense is this? What does that do to me? What? People just contacted me like crazy and saying, I'm not seeing your stories because universities used it as reference. You go into UN documents and they are quoting stories by Marcia Braveboy writing about crime in Trinidad and Tobago. You can find the stories hidden in all kinds of PDF documents where they pull the links and they pull the story and they use it as part of their study and their data, and the PNM sits down and thinks about things like that. And things like that is what is nagging them. And they have to bring in a whole Israeli plane of hackers to take them stories down because that bothers them. So we're going to wipe out this journalist's body of work. No value for anything. How is that different to the person who just shoots down somebody in broad daylight, comes out of the car and stand up over the body and just pump bullets into it? It is the same mindless criminal mind in motion. Is the same thing. It is the same thing. If you can sit down and discuss that and look to wipe out my body of work, you can kill me. And I have to be careful about my life. You know, because this is just a set of nonsense. This government is on stupidness.
Well, Marcia, I have to tell you, we have been banned from Facebook now for 2 months, right? And
I think somebody called me, and I'm barely hearing. I don't know what's causing that.
Okay, are you hearing me better now? Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me?
Okay, I'll try.
Okay, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, well, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Where our Facebook page, the radio station Facebook page, has been taken down for 2 months. We have been banned from Facebook for 2 months because they say WZYE violated some community standards. You know, and I went and looked at the video that we did, and I don't see anything in the video that violated any community standards. But you know, it's difficult to reach Facebook. But you know, we are just streaming on YouTube now.
What they do and what they were taught to do is how the PNM operates. They have 20 days. They have about 20 people. They have someone who organizes these things, and they might have about 40 people in a group. Right? They are organized in that way, and they're going to say, well, let's frustrate the Facebook post of 𝗪𝗏𝗄𝐿, you know, or Gary Hunt or Marcia Braveboy. So as soon as you put out something, they look for loopholes in the Facebook rules, whether it's abuse, whether it's whatever it is, they just look for anything, and they come to a consensus as to what they're going to report it as. And if Facebook looks at it and say, well, you violated our rules, they're just going to start frustrating your posts over time, and you're going to find yourself like almost every month just being banned for stupidness, because the PNM organize themselves in that way to operate like that and to frustrate certain Facebook pages. You know,
Marcia, is the UNC any different though? Is the UNC any different?
No, the UNC is not together. The UNC, in my humble opinion, is a party in chaos. The UNC is a very selfish political entity. Is not now. I have been trying to get the leadership of the party to also operate like that, and they're not doing it. You know, because that party has a lot of infighting, and they're not together like that. So they are different from the standpoint that they are not organized in that way. So no, they are not operating like that. The UNC is not operating like that simply because they are not organized to function like that.
That's
but the PNM would set up an organized way to frustrate you and frustrate your Facebook.
The PNM is an institution. The PNM is an institution. The PNM is an institution.
Yes.
I honestly believe that the
UNC doesn't really have any structure. It's just people doing things on their own, really. So they are not organized like that. So you can't say both parties doing the same thing the moment somebody says that the PNM is doing that. The UNC is not doing that because they don't have it together in that way, even though I have complained that they have to change their social media strategy and how they do things. But they are not functioning like that with that level of efficiency. And I don't want to be nasty because what the PNM is doing is actually very, very obsessive and sick. But the UNC don't take on things like that. It's unfortunate because I don't think they should just dismiss it either. I think they should sort of be measured, but they can do a bit of it. They may not go the extent that the PNM is going. The PNM is very extreme. And just really, really obsessive and sick in how it takes its approach in these matters. So yes, the PNM is doing it and the UNC is not doing it. And I just explained why.
That's very interesting because it was kind of for us, because we are kind of new on the block, but we had a lot of people just started to listen to what we were saying because we were talking about country and we were talking about exile and stranded citizens and what are the difficulties these persons were facing. And no other media in Trinidad and Tobago was addressing exile and stranded citizens. No other media, none, zero. It was like if it didn't happen, and until we took up that mantle.
Yeah, and that's where the bloggers come in. That's why Facebook don't take on the main. That's why people don't take on the mainstream media, and Facebook posts and bloggers get so much traction. I pay attention a lot to internet data. The Trinidad Express, the Newsday, the Guardian, they will post a story, and AT&T Alert, and other blog pages would lift that story, would take the photo and drop it on their page, and 1,000 people share it. And the Express put out the story before them, and 200 and something people share it. So bloggers are sharing their articles and getting more mileage as bloggers. It's just evidence that people read the bloggers more than they read them, and that happens on a regular basis. So the mainstream media, they know that. And that's why they started fighting me and was fighting bloggers and all this thing and talking about bloggers interfering with freedom of press. And I'm like, aren't you also interfering with freedom of press by interfering with what bloggers say? You want to dictate what we must say, but we can't dictate what you write in your papers. And that is where they really hated Marcia, because I kind of showed people that position and all of that if we can't dictate to them what they write in the Express, the Newsday, and the Guardian, they cannot dictate to us what to write. They can't bully us. Same thing. We all doing media. So I give you that as I'm barely hearing you, but I just give you that an example to show you that people are reading the bloggers more.
I know. I know that absolutely, because when you look on Facebook and you see, the different bloggers, the amount of views and the amount of shares they get. Then you go to Express or Newsday or Guardian.
You look at the same story, and they don't even come close. They put out a story first, They lift them people's story, put it on their page, and they get more shares on their page than the Express could ever get, than the Newsday could ever get, than the Guardian could ever get. And even when they're sponsoring a post, sometimes they still don't measure up to the popular bloggers. And I watch that all the time and I just laugh, and I know it hurts them. I know it really angers them and it hurts them.
So Diana, Tommy, or Gary, if you guys want to jump in at any time, I mean, when whenever Marcia puts out a story, boy, that story fly like
Is there a way I can sign out and just sign back in?
Yeah, just sign out and sign back in. Yeah, okay.
Disrupt.
Yeah.
It almost muted you.
All right, just sign out and sign back in first. All right.
How can I do that?
Leave.
Oh, okay. So are you still there, Marcia? Hello? Okay. All right, we lost her.
She had to hit leave and then come back.
Yes, she's gonna have to come back.
Yeah, but it's very interesting, some of the information she's brought to our attention.
Listen, I ain't gonna lie to you. But here she comes back. Here she is. She's back. All right, there she's back.
Sorry. Wait.
All right, Marcia, you're back. Okay, hold on. Okay, you're back
so
with us.
that's it. Yeah, I'm hearing you much better.
Right. So, Marcia, before we lose you again, right? I'll ask this question to many people who come on WZYE 95.9 FM in the village of Dak Triplets. If you had to send a message to the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. 𝗧𝗂𝗲𝐿𝐺, what would be your message to the Prime Minister?
I will ask the Prime Minister to be mindful that we have had to live with HIV. We have had to live with all kinds of diseases that came on stream, whether it's the Spanish flu, whether it's HIV, whether it's cancer, whether it's lupus. We have had to live with it. And he should not play politics with COVID because we have an internal election coming up in the PNM, because we have carnival next year, because we have local election next year. He must not be corrupting the two things together, and he must be mindful that he is hurting people's livelihoods and he's playing with people's lives, and he must open back up the economy and just get it rolling again and put people back to work and remove Trinidad and Tobago from the handout and the hamper status that he has made it in a mere short 3 months. I'm looking at that situation through Grenadian lenses, and I can't believe what I am seeing. Trinidad and Tobago is looked upon as Mother Trinidad. I am looking at how the arts and culture in particular would be decimated by the actions that he took. And like, it just does not bother him. He does what he does, but he was not measured in how he did it. And look at the impact on the people in the arts and culture and those fields, and those other areas. He just shut down the place, and you see that it was just a power thing for him when he says things like, "All right, we're going to open this group of places. We open laundromat this week. We open hardware next week. We open food places the following week." That is just power play. That is puerile nonsense. That is just agitating, irritating, just nastiness and stupidness. Just somebody feeling he moving like a glad boy. He needs to stop behaving like a 𝗧𝗂𝗲𝐀𝗄𝐿 and a glad boy, and just open up the country, behave like he's a mature individual. Have some kind of conscientiousness and some consciousness about how his decisions and his actions are affecting people's pockets. The fact that banks are foreclosing on people's properties, that doesn't bother him. Are you a sadist? You enjoy seeing the people in pain? What nonsense is this? Why are you doing this? Open back up the country and let us return to normal. And that is my message to him, because we have to live with this pandemic. Right? And stop following these dictates by whoever is giving it to you, because you are a human being and you live here and you see how this is affecting your people, and you have to come back to ground zero, back to where your people, and come down from that penthouse up there with that COVID agenda and all these hidden hands that you are dealing with that don't know nothing about how people scratching their behinds, how they're feeding their mouths. You grew up here, so you can't continue doing this. Just open back up the country and let it bloom and grow again. And that's my message to him.
Well, I tell you,
because
Marcia,
how little Grenada of 100,000 people, 90,000 people that looks up to Trinidad in terms of carnival and so on. You want to remove that influence by decimating that industry? You want little Grenadians now, little Grenada now, to be looking at Trinidad and just frowning and stooping on them and looking at them as nothing, which they wouldn't. But he has to understand what he is doing to the status of Trinidad and to the people of Trinidad and Tobago by these decisions that he makes and these little Oasis islands that looks up to Trinidad as Mother Trinidad. You find yourself in a position where you're breaking the back of Trinidad because it's the powerhouse of the region. And if you break Trinidad, then you break all. Why are you following that agenda? Why? And you're a Tobago boy. Why are you following that agenda for? That is wrong. And he must bring back some normalcy to this place and bring back respect to Trinidad and Tobago.
But you know,
do whatever he can to fix the culture and arts industry.
You know, I just said that. Are you following self-governance for Tobago? You have a position on that?
I'm not strongly. Again, you know, as a Grenadian, I'm also a Tobagonian. We see each other as one, Tobagonians and Grenadians, and I would look at it in the way I don't understand. And you have Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, and you have the kayak saying they want self-governance, they want to be on their own and separate from Grenada. It's such nonsense, you know. So it's just something that I kind of dismiss because they're going to still have to depend on Trinidad. If they go independent, the PNM is going to be thinking about a ballot box. Do they really want to be with all those 2 seats? So I just think it's an exercise in futility. I don't think it's serious. I think it's just an empty discussion going along. I really see it as a distraction. It is not something that I take seriously. Honestly, it's just something that I completely ignore. It's just talk, to be quite honest.
Yeah,
but I think I see it in reality.
But I think the PDP and Dr. Winsford is taking up Dr. Winsford James, Dr. Vaness James, you know, 𝗧𝘂𝗲𝗄𝐻 and these esteemed gentlemen in Tobago is taking it very seriously, and they're fighting the battle for self-governance for Tobago, you know, and they've been, and all of them been on here too, you know, and they are fighting that fight.
I don't know how seriously to take that, you know, because people just like being in the media and like feeling important and like being interviewed. And I really don't know if it's to take any of that seriously, because at the end of the day, I think it comes down to dollars and cents, in this case, the ballot box and votes. And I don't think the PNM nationally would want to be without the Tobago seats in a general election. That is my position on that. So I really just, this thing is just a merry-go-round conversation that is going nowhere. So that is not something that I occupy my mind with at all.
Okay. That's good. Fair enough. You know, I mean, Tommy, do you have anything?
I don't take anything seriously with James. I just, okay, whatever. Just
Yeah, I think,
nonsense.
I think it. Well, I believe that Tobago needs a federation like 𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗃𝗃 has with Trinidad. That's a good model.
Yeah, I feel Tobago deserve the self-governance. My father is a Tobagonian who live in Tobago.
Oh,
you know,
God.
he live in Roxborough, Tobago. So I think Tobago needs the self-governance, and I think if Tobago gets self-governance, they'll do really fantastic. I mean, it's always
it does not make political sense to the PNM. That's my humble opinion.
No, I agree with that. It doesn't make political sense to the PNM.
It's just a conversation that's happening because the people in Tobago want it, but it does not make any political sense to the PNM. So that is something that I don't even take that on, Anselm. Like, seriously, I just don't. Because I know that is a conversation that is going nowhere.
Well, I think it's left to be seen, though, because I think this time, you know, I mean, they came back and they said they were going to give it another 2 weeks. But I think if they have another election in Tobago, it looks like there's a great possibility that the PDP will get most of the seats. Because the people of Tobago are that fed up with the status quo. I mean, I can say that because my father is on the ground, and my father was a staunch PNM. I know my father is basically a PDP. You know,
but there are other things happening that we do not see, and in spite of the vast complaints, at the end of the day, we still see PNM prevailing. And I don't want to go into that discussion right now to upset the apple cart, because I want my peace of mind for now. I I just see I just see PNM and UNC as one, and PDP and PNM as one, and working as one. And I've been on Facebook accusing them of selling elections. So I don't even want to go there and start to irritate and agitate situations, because it's the whole country complaining, I want the PNM gone, and at the end of the day, they win elections, and nobody understands that. And I understand it. I know what's going on, but she conjecture, and she ad hominem, and she fiction, and she fake news and all those kinds. So I just leave that alone, right? So you saying that, and then you see at the end of the day, PNM prevails again, and you just wonder, well, how? And I could tell you how in a private discussion.
We could leave that for a private discussion.
Yeah, we will leave that for a private discussion, because 𝗲𝗃𝗃𝗀𝘆. I'm a bishopite, I don't know nothing about selling elections and playing to lose and making deals and all this nonsense. I don't know. I play to win. That's not my kind of politics. So I'm very disenchanted right now, from that standpoint, and it's just not something that I just kind of lost a lot of interest, and I really have to rest and recoup and just kind of try to come back mentally and psychologically, from that 2020 general election and the PDP election in Tobago, and all these things that I see happening. And I know what I know, and I just kind of dismiss all of them.
Well, I got to tell you, Marcia, it's really been a pleasure to have you, and you have revealed to us many, many things that many people would really like to know, and you have revealed that to them. And I think, I know sometime again, soon, we like to have you back again as things evolve in Trinidad and Tobago.
No problem at all. I could be a regular guest. No problem at all.
Yeah, man, we'll appreciate that. We will really appreciate that, man. Absolutely. You see, it's always good to be cordial to people, right? Even though you may be on opposite side of the spectrum,
Yes.
I would tell people, you could do things and you could be cordial and nice, and every once in a while you throw a jab here and there and thing, because
Yep.
and you just keep it moving. So, any closing words before you go?
I just wanted to make an observation, with the whole pandemic. I mean, it had its abundance of bad, but I saw, like in the village where I live, which I can't say, I really saw how it sort of, while people were frustrated, I saw a situation where people were returning to the games we used to play. Not people sit down in groups, by the roadside. Because I live in a kind of remote area, so the guys will hang out by the roadside, and the police won't really see them because of how the geographic layout of the place. And they're there, and they're playing their cards, and they're playing their dominoes, and not the usual thing I used to see, passing by, and they're in groups, and everybody on their phone. And I did not see that. I saw them playing ball in the road. I see them playing cricket. I see them. I wondered what was really happening here. I just saw this really nice nostalgic moment was just coming back, because something about the whole situation kind of humbled them, or it just brought on a kind of consciousness that this is what they should be doing and how they should be living. They were playing the games that we used to play, and that was really, that was actually really wonderful to see, actually. So I just highlighting, I mean, apart from all the talk about thanks, Rowley, my husband coming home now and all this thing, and I just spoiled an observation. So these were that's just one of the positives that I observed, and I want to say to Trinidad and Tobago to embrace the positive observations that they've made coming out of the lockdown and all of that, and see if they can go forward, continue doing that, because it's good.
Marcia, we want to say thank you so very kindly for taking the time to join us, and we are definitely going to have you back soon. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Anselm, and my Bajan friend there.
All right, and take care so much. Thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
okay. All right, bye-bye.